So the dire state of most municipalities shows the dangers of cadre deployment. Now that's according to CEO of Business Leadership SA, Busisiwe Mavuso. She says many municipalities commit corruption every month when residents pay electricity and water bills, but officials do not pay ESCOM and the water boards. Mavuso joins us now to discuss this further. Ms. Mavuso, good morning and thank you very much for your time. You've actually touched on a very topical point, cadre deployment. We've seen it today in the state capture report. It features prominently and it seems to really be crippling municipalities. Talk to me about the effects of cadre deployment in these administrative functions in municipalities.
Good morning, Bundo, and thank you very much for inviting us. Look, I think the AG clearly highlights how, the collapsing municipalities and the dire state that a lot of municipalities are in is really as a result of, not having the right leadership within these municipalities. She speaks about poor budgeting practices. She speaks about ineffective financial management. She speaks about how all of these are pointing towards an increasing a state of collapse, so increasing indicators of collapse, within municipalities. And I think she's worried about the continued deterioration, of some of these municipalities. And I think the worrying thing is that a lot of these municipalities are actually repeat offenders. So these are municipalities that have actually been in the red, for quite some time. And I worry that we don't seem to be taking this issue seriously enough, at least from a government perspective. I think we've had many conversations as a country around the issue of state capacity and how that is the biggest weakness in the South African environment right now, at least in as far as service delivery is concerned. I was also particularly worried about the response from SALGA, where they were actually saying that in their last national executive meeting, they actually have resolved to urge all municipalities that have received negative audit outcomes to place emphasis on improving their control environment. I'm really troubled about the choice of language from SALGA. When you have a state that is looking towards collapse, edge is not a word that we should be using. We should be using much more stronger language. We should be calling for heads to roll. We should be calling for people to be fired. We should be calling, for people to be suspended, if need be, and I worry that we don't seem to understand the impact that this has on the ground. We're sitting in an environment, for instance, at the moment where government continuously says that it is the role of business to create jobs. So business is sitting in this environment where we have this huge burden that has been placed on us of creating jobs. How do you do that if the infrastructure that is meant to enable the efficient operation of your business is falling apart? How does business actually implement that which needs to be implemented? And I think you're actually raising a very interesting thing, because the state capture report actually says the same thing, and I think what the state capture report reveals, it shows that, South Africa is not a poor country. We are just poorly managed, and I think the report in the municipalities really say that. So I really think that there has to be a serious intervention. The president has spoken about the professionalization of the public service. I think it can no longer be talk, it needs to be action. Government needs to take seriously to the issue of professionalization in the public service, as it were.
So how does business assist in this respect? Because there needs to be something that clicks in the municipalities, that you have a role to stimulate economic development, that what comes first is a functional municipality, as you say, and then business can come in and invest, because if there's no electricity or consistent electricity, then why would businesses want to go to that specific municipality to invest? So how do we restart this whole machinery and get municipalities functioning, and so that they're part of the broader ecosystem of a capable state?
Mfundo, a big part of this, unfortunately, is political will. So business can scream as loud as it wants. We can even do a whole lot of tricks and even stand on our head as business to try and drive the point of how important it is to have a capable state. But if government doesn't think that this is an issue that warrants their urgent attention, there is very little that business can do. I think you would know of a program that we have as business where we have actually seconded a lot of our retired professionals to some of these municipalities. And you find that the reports that we are getting from these retired professionals, is that they are not being given the space to be able to assist in a manner that they can, because the aim of the project is to look at how we can effect the much needed skills transfer. But if they are going to go into these municipalities and they are going to be put in a corner and they are not going to actually be effectively utilized, so what more does business do? I think we would have seen that, the closure of the Clover factory in Lichtenberg moving to KZN, I think that should have told us how serious the issue of an ineffective municipality is. And I think we're even having many businesses and much more factories that are actually closing without publicizing it. The reason why South Africa is actually losing its position as the investment destination in the African continent is precisely because ours is not a conducive environment. And the reason why it's not a conducive environment, it's precisely because where the rubber hits the road, which is the municipalities, where service delivery is meant to happen, it is actually not happening. We don't have an efficient running infrastructure in this country. And that is a problem. Neither do we have a capable state. So how do you then expect the 333 billion, for instance, that was pledged in the last investment conference to be realized? Because we have to realize, Mfundo, that when these investors stand on these podiums and make these investment commitments, the inherent condition precedent is that we will put our money in South Africa provided the system works. And the system that they're talking about is roads that are actually properly maintained. It's ports that are running. It's ESCOM that can provide, energy security. It's the railway that is running. It's telecom. The network industry should be a non-negotiable. And the network industries are mainly, by and large, provided by the municipalities. So that is where we are actually failing as a country. And we're sitting here asking ourselves why we are struggling to attract investment. Well, there is our answer. Our answer is that 41 out of 230 municipalities, are actually dysfunctional. Only 41 municipalities have actually received clean audits. This is a recipe for disaster, and we should actually be looking at how we can fix this with a matter of urgency. And really, as government leaders in particular, we should be sitting up and listening, and we should be sitting up and paying attention and looking at how, in our quest of trying to achieve economic recovery, how do we therefore prioritize the issue of municipalities? Because this is where, the biggest failure, of South Africa is at the moment.
Even your conversation with those retired executives raises a very concerning trend that perhaps here what is happening is that there is no shortage of skills. The skills are not needed in some of these municipalities. They actually need pliable individuals who will do exactly what they want them to do. Is that what you're suggesting?
It is a very worrying picture, because I think we intervene from a business perspective because we have these conversations with government, and there is a recognition that the required skills are mainly residing in the private sector, right? So we therefore, give these retired professionals from that perspective so that business can say that it is doing their bit in terms of ensuring, the attainment of a capable state in this country. But when they get to these municipalities and there isn't, that environment, or if they are not warmly received and if they are not being effectively utilized, you therefore start asking yourself, to say, is this what is really a problem within this municipality? You see, the problem, Mfundo, is that it is easy to steal and loot and eat and perform all kinds of corruptions in an environment that is actually dysfunctional. So if business is therefore going to try and bring some form of normalcy and functionality in these municipalities by providing their own skills and retired professionals, if those in the municipalities are actually, if those people in the municipalities are actually more interested in the looting, they are obviously not going to welcome that assistance. It therefore begs the question of whether do we really want to fix these municipalities, or does the system of dysfunctionality actually serve us? Because it allows those that are actually hell-bent on looting the state resources to continue what they need to do. So I think we should really be having an honest conversation around what is really happening in municipalities. But more importantly, we need to be taking action. I think we have had many conversations as a country, so as I'm saying that for SALGA to say that they are urging municipalities, it's actually not good enough. There should be much more stronger language that is actually utilized. People should be fired. People should lose their jobs. More capable people should actually be put in these municipalities if we are serious about putting South Africa back on the map, at least from an investment perspective.
Now, hopefully such conversations as the one we're having with you now will prompt them to actually use more stronger languages and we see heads rolling. Thank you very much, Ms. Mavuso. That was Busisiwe Mavuso, CEO of Business Leadership South Africa.